Every day, chat and chart live during the New York session. Here, real traders share the raw truth, their mindset, technical analysis, and execution. This is where real traders show their skill set. Welcome to Tradin TV. This is your stage to shine.
Hey guys, what's going on? How's everybody doing? First of all, happy Halloween if you guys celebrate. I'm not currently dressed up as anybody. I don't have an outfit. I've been way too busy. But let's get into the markets, I guess. So yesterday actually was a really great trade on Euro. So we had the main refinancing rate, which I think came out like 9:15, which is a pretty odd time for that to happen. So we had another rate cut. Obviously, we saw some strength in the dollar, which originally I wanted to see weakness in the dollar because we still have this level down here that doesn't have a wick, and we have this gap here. But obviously, this here, right, this candle here is our FOMC release. Then we have our press conference. We retrace into this fair value gap, and then it expands higher. So for the time being, obviously, it feels like the dollar is just going to continue higher. We have this inverted fair value gap. Now, the next upside target, obviously, is just yesterday's high. But then once we're through that level, we're probably looking at, 100. Let's just call it 100, big round number, and then maybe the high up here. And another level that I think has been interesting for quite a while now is this here. Right, so we have this massive gap here. We have the close here and open all the way up here. So maybe we get all the way up to 100.50. So once we got obviously the rate announcement that we're going to cut rates, probably for the last time this year, we had this nice sell off from here. We didn't take out the buy side liquidity, but we can possibly look at this as our market structure shift. We have this closure below the low. And then during the Asian session, right, retraces into this sell side imbalance, retests the weekly open, and then I ended up getting short overnight. Don't ask me why I was up during London session. I typically don't trade London session, but I was closing on a property and I couldn't sleep, so I was up. I ended up shorting a little early, which I'll show you guys on the futures chart. I ended up shorting on this candle here, 3 a.m. candle after we got this inverted fair value gap. So we have this bullish fair value gap failing. Let me just zoom in here so you guys can really see it. We have this bullish fair value gap, right? That fails with a closure through it. So I ended up shorting on the next candle. I had to sit through this drawdown though. So it took 2 hours, 2 hours sitting in this drawdown, coming up very close to halfway into my stop, essentially. That kind of made me a bit nervous, but obviously we have to trust our system and our strategy. So my stop went above the Asian range high. Right, and then we're basically just holding for what? The equal lows that are all the way back here. Right, so we have these equal lows, which if we check on Euro USD, those actually have not been hit yet. Okay, so when I'm going through my markets, I am paying attention to both the futures market as well as the currency market. Overall, though, it still seems quite bearish. So that, coupled with a strong dollar, if the dollar is going to continue going higher, then obviously we need to remain bullish on the dollar, which means foreign currencies should continue lower, right? Pound, once we're below these equal lows now. If you guys were following the pound, I don't typically trade the pound a whole lot, but we had these really nice equal lows in here, right? So even just, let's say if you miss these trades, it's not a big deal. Just use it as a learning experience. That way we see it happen and pan out again, you know how to trade it, right? And this could be inversed, right? If you flip this chart upside down, you could be looking at something like this, where maybe they run out sell side liquidity and then take out buy side liquidity. But this is really just a puzzle where you're trying to figure out where the market's trying to go next and plan your trade around that. And obviously, you have to be comfortable with how long it's going to take to get there. All right. When we hopped off stream last week, though, guys, I was leaning long, and I wanted to be long. Unfortunately, I was long after CPI. So we had CPI print. I went long. I don't have the position tool up anymore, but I didn't really get the best entry. I probably entered like right here on the closure of the CPI candle, and I was aiming for like a 3-to-1. I was in this trade for a very long time. So let me just, I'll walk you guys through where my stop was. So my stop was here. I believe my target was 107.40, or sorry, 1.1740. So about a 3-to-1. You know, I was sitting in this trade for a long time. So I was sitting in it for most of Friday, all of Monday. And then when Tuesday came around, I actually adjusted my stop loss. When Tuesday came around, I put my stop loss, I believe it was right around here. But on the futures market, it's a little bit different, I believe. Oh, and also, I think my day dividers are off. I have to change this to UTC -4. My midnight lines are not lined up. So yeah, I did adjust my stop loss to, you know, right around here below the weekly open. It came out, stopped me out, and then it just went sideways. So am I really concerned with it? No, but I was trying to have as much patience as I possibly could with the trade. You know, just count out how many hours I was sitting in this thing, and it was only up like 1 hour, right? So let's count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's an easy way of doing this. I think you can measure and just measure how many candles this is. By the time I get stopped out, it was 48 bars. So I was in this trade for 2 days. 2 days, and it was only up 1 hour. So that's what I mean by when you're placing a trade, you have to understand what time frame are you trading and how long is it possibly going to take to maybe start moving in your direction. Yesterday was a very clean trade. Like this trade occurred very quickly. And to be honest, right now I'm thinking about going short on the euro. As long as you know, I would say we protect this high up here. Because I honestly think it's probably going to catch up to the futures contract. It's going to take out the equal lows that are resting right here. And I honestly, I don't really see a reason for the dollar to turn around. So I'm probably just going to plan out a 1 to 2. And I'll get to your guys' questions in a little bit, but this is usually not how I would enter trades. I'm usually waiting for the pullback, but because this is looking pretty weak, right? We have this bullish engulfing candle, but we haven't seen the market turn around. So usually when we see these bullish engulfing candles fail, it continues going the other direction. So let's just take a look at the dollar. Yeah, I think as long as we respect this bullish fair value gap, we should continue higher. The cat's running around. So I'm just going to place a trade here. I'm probably only going to take 5 contracts because it's Friday. Give me a second, guys. It's annoying because I have to log into multiple accounts here. I'm not trading off TradingView right now because my prop firm in Chicago uses CQG, and there is no copy trader that allows TradingView to CQG. But CQG is really an institutional platform. Been a bit of a learning curve to try and learn it, but this is the gold standard of institutional trading platforms. 15330. I think it's going to be interesting to see where some of these fiat currencies go, to be honest. I don't know if they have a long-standing place in the economy, just because they're debasing the currency and, consistently losing value. So we are doing a giveaway today, you guys. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're following. Make sure you share the link to the stream. And we're going to be picking 5 winners, just like we did last week, which we should have the first 2 winners in a little bit. Gold, honestly, guys, I know you keep asking about gold, but I don't trade gold a whole lot. So my analysis is basically, useless for you. I don't think, even though I can read the charts for you, you're not going to learn doing that, because I'm not a gold trader. I don't trade gold. My opinion should not matter to what you guys are doing. You have to go in here and learn on your own. It's like you going to ask a guy that does hot tubs for a living how to build a house. Right? Does that make any sense? Go find a professional gold trader for their opinion. I don't know. I trade index markets and I trade currency markets. You guys want to say hi to my cat? Here, let me grab him. Come here. Oh, I know you're a big guy. Oh, he's squirming. He's squirming. Oh. Guys, this is my risk manager. He might have just entered 6 lots on NQ. Are you trying to short the market? Are you trying to short the market? Yeah. That's something. You guys want to know my cat's opinion on gold? So obviously, I'm anticipating to see if we continue lower from here to take out this low down here on 6E. So kind of just based on the midnight open and the current price action. We took out some small sell side liquidity here. But yeah, overall, it's still looking quite bearish. What I'm looking at is obviously, whatever you guys want to call it, it's just market conditions. We have this large sell-off, this sideways price action I'm looking at is distribution, right? Oh, give me a second. You guys want to know if my cat is a scalper or swing trader? And if he has funded accounts. Have you guys seen the reel of the chicken? Some guy had a chicken, right, and had a trade, aiming for like a 1 to 2. And it would basically walk onto a button and buy or sell. Crazy. Some people are getting super creative with the content. So I think I'm risking about $1,300 on this trade. CPI got canceled? No, it came out last Friday. My man is late, brother. CPI was last Friday, October 24th. You are living in the past, man. If you're trying to become a trader, you have to know these dates. You have to know like what's going on. You can't just blindly be operating. I'm surprised somebody thought CPI was today. Like, what are you doing? Sorry, but what are you doing? Will NQ go bearish? To be honest, guys, I do not have a good grasp of what NQ is doing. This thing is just going higher and higher and higher. But it's hard to honestly, it's hard to be long, but it's also not wise to be short. Like, the only thing you can do is just stay long. Like that. I mean, what else are you really doing? Hold on a second, guys. Sorry, too much outside noise. Wife is breaking down boxes or something. So obviously you guys can see that I'm not really concerned with trying to get the best price. I'm of the opinion that a lot of times it really just comes down to you understanding what direction is market trying to go and you taking a bet and a risk and just managing it appropriately. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as picking a direction and managing your trade effectively. I honestly don't believe that entries are the secret to trading success. I think it's much more important to understand the context of the market because then entries, to me are really just a moot point. When I look at this market here as it's going lower, I think any bear that is managing their stop loss that got short in here, or in here, or in here, or in here, and didn't get stopped out, right? Because they managed their stop loss effectively, right? If this thing continues lower, doesn't matter which entry you chose. Yes, you can try and pinpoint an entry, but the biggest thing is you're trying to make money here. And if none of these guys got stopped out, they are outperforming you because they're positive. Their P&L is positive. You love me? You want to marry me? I'm already married. You'd take that up with my wife. She's probably not thrilled with that message. I think I should get my cat back in here and ask him for his opinion because I think I could take my cat's opinion, trade it effectively. All right, looks like we got 2 winners. I just want to confirm. Assuming this is their usernames. Siraj JC and Fans for Godlike. Sounds like that's your username. There we go. Fans for Godlike. Claim your prize. Am I a proper futures trader? Yeah, I'm mainly trading futures. The main thing is like, yes, I am still trading currencies. You see, this is Euro FX futures. The reason I use a futures broker is because 1, it's regulated, and 2, there's tax advantages for trading your personal capital. Outside of outside of the prop landscape, for a US based trader, the futures market is the market that you're trying to trade. Why is it tax advantageous? Is because it gets taxed at a different rate. Your profits get taxed at a different rate. 60% get taxed as short-term gains. 40% gets taxed as long-term gains. And the long-term gains percentage is a lot less than short-term. Right? So why would I want to do Forex where they're going to tax me 100% as short-term gains if it's under a year? Right? That doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, just by the way, we got a little banner running across the screen that's, picking the winners. So you guys can double check your usernames. Do I have mentorship? I do. I'm not going to share. I'm not going to share that information here. You guys can follow me, find me on YouTube. We are here to talk markets. How do I choose the winners? I don't choose the winners. The team chooses the winners. Otherwise, I feel like that might be a conflict of interest if I was hand selecting the winners. Now, I could run the qualified people through a random giveaway, which is what I'm sure that's what the team is doing, right? They're double checking to make sure you subscribe to the channel, right? First and foremost, follow me, follow FundingPips, share the stream on your social platforms. Can you get a treat today? Maybe a Halloween treat. What do you like? What's your favorite candy? What is my max risk per trade? Again, I don't know if you guys have been, joining the streams consistently, but I don't think it honestly matters. What is your max risk per trade? How are you going to improve? Why does it matter what I'm doing? This is a solo thing. You are on your own journey. You have to learn on your own. You got to trade on your own. You got to risk manage on your own. All these things are very personal, and it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. When you ask other people, what kind of risk are you taking? How does that really affect your trading? I get that you're trying to mimic people, but at the end of the day, if it was as easy as just mimicking what other people are doing, everybody would be a millionaire. If it was that easy, you would just find somebody that's profitable, mimic what they're doing, and everybody would be a millionaire. But I can guarantee you, I could find a profitable strategy. Hell, I could teach you guys a profitable strategy in 15 minutes. How many out of 100 are going to be able to make that strategy work? Even if it's profitable. You think all 100 of those traders are going to be profitable with that strategy? That's why the edge is the trader and not the strategy. Tell my trading story? I've already told my trading story a lot. And you guys can find me on many different podcasts talking about it. Because it's honestly way too much to try and fit in 40 minutes or even 30 minutes. And I'm here to talk markets. Again, this is not about me. This is about me trying to teach you how to operate like a professional. It has nothing to do with me. All right, the way that I'm operating, okay, let's just kind of break down the trade idea. Is that this market is bearish, right? If we just remove all this lipstick, what is the market structure doing? Is it creating higher highs or higher lows when we zoom out? And this is why I'm looking at this market and not NQ right now. Is it making higher highs or higher lows? Is it making lower highs and lower lows? Yes, it's making lower highs and lower lows. So for the time being, this market is bearish. All right, that's step one. Next step, try and find an entry. Where do I find an entry? Where do I place my stop loss? I entered here. My stop loss goes above what London session highs. You can call this London lunch highs or Asian range highs. This is where my stop loss is. Now, the market doesn't always have to take out Asian range highs, guys. This does not always have to happen every single day. All right. It may be as simple as just running above midnight open and then collapsing. So if I'm anticipating the market is going to go lower, I'm just going to enter short and then let the market decide. But what separates me from everybody else is that if it does this, guess what I do after? Nothing. if it does this, what do? I try and scale in, or I try and adjust my stop loss and not just exit when it's doing this. When it's going sideways, I'm not exiting and chopping myself alive. I'm just entering one trade and waiting patiently, calmly, not freaking out if the market goes against me. I just showed you guys that I had to sit through drawdown, right? Before I removed that long short tool, right? I entered here. My stop was above here. And I just waited. But this thing came up and almost took me out. Right? What do I do in that situation? Do I add to losers? Do I cut my losers short? Let me cut my losers short. Well, if you cut your losers short and then it does this, you're going to kick yourself. You're going to, you're kicking yourself in the teeth because you're not comfortable with the risk that you put on and you're over managing the trade. Right? So for me, my invalidation was a closure above this inverted fair value gap. Did we get a closure? No. And if I take it on an hourly time frame, a closure to me is not a 5-minute closure. So like when I go and take a trade, my execution is on an hourly time frame, and that's where my invalidation is. Does a closure on a 5-minute candle invalidate that trade? No, it does not invalidate the trade because you are micromanaging the trade on a different time frame than you took it on. Right? If I take the trade on the hourly, I have an hourly invalidation. And until I get an hourly closure, I don't do anything. I just wait. And then 3 hours later, we're at our target, right? Same thing here. I took this on an hourly, right? It is based off the daily, but I'm managing my stop loss on an hourly. Am I going to just go down in here and then say, oh, if we lost a 5-minute high, I'm going to exit? No. I did that for way too long. Is I would enter a trade on an hourly or a daily and then find myself on the 1-minute, 5-minute, looking at 1-minute, 5-minute price action. It does not help. Okay. You're over managing your trade and you're trying to watch your trade through a microscope. Okay. You need to think big picture. If I plan out 1 to 3 risk reward, I can have a 35% win rate and still make money. So I have to be comfortable seeing this trade do this and stop me out, but not be afraid to take the next trade with the same risk reward. And if the next trade goes on me and it goes sideways, I don't just panic sell. I don't just panic exit my position because I took a loss on the last one. The last trade has nothing to do with the one that I'm currently in, right? I'm not just going to panic and freak out and exit the position because what if I exit because I'm scared of taking another loss and then it does this, right? Or let's say if it stops you out on the last one and then you take the trade and then it just does this and then you close it early and then does this, right? This is all emotional control and emotional management, knowing how to manage yourself and manage your process and let your system pan out. And a lot of your system panning out is not you sitting in front of the charts and, you're doing this. You're all up in the charts like this. You're like, what is going on with my trade? What is going on with my trade? Like, I need to see what's going on in the 1 minute. Is the algorithm changing state of delivery? They're changing the delivery on me. No, man, just sit still. You have to just take a big picture view. Stop being all up in your screens like a maniac, right? Your eyes are bloodshot. You look like a psychopath. And you need to calm down, okay? This is all about having calmness, and it's all about having composure in the face of adversity. again, you're not trying to be all up in the screens and just, losing your mind over every little tick. The market is going to do what it's going to do, and you just have to be comfortable with being uncertain. There's nothing wrong with saying, I am in a trade, but I really don't know. One thing that my mentor, or one of my mentors that is working in Chicago right now, he's helping me out a lot, is that, studying a lot of the best traders, guess they're the best trades that they ever took. Guess how they rated their trade. Do you think they rated them a 10 out of 10? Just guess. No, they didn't. Some of their best trades they ever had in their career were trades that they rated a 7 or an 8. Which means what? What does that mean in terms of you managing your trades? It means that your confidence level is not exuberant, right? Which means you can manage the downside. Okay. If you are uncertain on a trade, it allows you to actually think about the risk that you have on. Like, okay, I don't want to just full port my account because honestly, I don't know. And this is the problem that most prop traders have, is that their FOMO, their greed, and their excitement is getting them into trades with way too much size because they are not thinking about the other side of the coin. Okay, if I were to flip this coin, or I just have a poker chip, right? But if I were to flip this poker chip and say heads or tails, boom, heads or tails, boom, heads or tails, and we're betting, are you going to take a huge bet on heads or tails? Even if this was a weighted coin and, 60% of the time it lands on heads, are you going to put 100% of your bankroll on heads? Because 40% of the time it's going to land on tails? No. It just doesn't make sense. You need to understand that with trading, you have to protect the downside, and you have to understand, like, you're going to take losses in this journey. You're going to have you're going to have problems where you're just not making any money. But a lot of times it's not due to strategy. It's due to your emotional state and how you're moving in the markets. Like the decisions that you're making in the markets. Am I making rash decisions? Am I making impulsive decisions? And I totally get where most people come from because I was 100% impulsive. I'm a very impulsive person. I'm actually about to go buy a car today because I'm so impulsive. But now I am much more responsible with my impulsiveness, I would say. And if you ask my wife, maybe not. If you look at my Pokemon collection right now, you'd probably say that I am not responsibly impulsive. How much percent returns do you generate in a month? That's an irrelevant question. If I'm trying to learn from Steve Cohen and I ask him how much percent return are you going to make? Are you making in a month? What does that even have to do with anything? How do you educate yourself with that information? How do you execute with that information? That doesn't do anything for your trading, to be honest. And everybody's so focused on what other people are doing that they can't focus on themselves. You need to focus. In today's day and age, everybody is distracted by short form content, reels. Like nobody can sit still and watch something attentively for more than like 5 minutes. I'm just telling you, from my data analysis, from looking at all the data, most people's retention is dog doo doo. They can't sit still for more than 5 minutes. So what makes you think you could sit still in a trade for more than 5 minutes, right? Your mind is all over the place. And I don't blame the person. I blame the environment that we're in. right? The social environment that we're in, there's way too much media. So, it honestly will do really great. I probably need to do the same. I need to go on a dopamine detox. Like sometimes I'm just all over the place and I can't focus. Like it's hard for me to focus. So the biggest thing is you need to slow down your thinking. All right. I think that there's a really great book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Dan Kahneman. I don't know if that's how you pronounce this name, but you really should think about looking into that book. What car am I getting? Find out. We will find out. Let's see. Today is Friday. So I don't know. If I'm a betting man on Fridays, after a very large range day, a lot of times I just assume that it's going to be an inside day. Am I still bearish on Dixie on the monthly time frame? I don't know, man. Right now we are in a rough spot because we did take out this low, and it could still run higher into this quarterly fair value gap. Now, I think if we get into here, let's say if it runs out the previous quarterly high, which you could definitely do, I have to be very cautious of what I'm going to do next, right? Because this is a very important level once we trade into it. What is it going to do next? Is it going to roll over and then target this low? Or is it going to break above and then continue higher? I can't determine what it's going to do. I just know how I'm going to operate once it goes into that level. Once it goes into there, I'm going to be waiting patiently and not trying to do too much. And then wait for clues from the market. You know, is the market going to continue creating higher lows or higher highs? And then basically, I'm just trying to ride the wave. So right now, short term, I'm just trying to ride this wave. If this market is going to continue showing characteristics of bearishness, right? We have these markdown periods. We have sideways redistribution, another distribution phase, another sideways redistribution, another distribution phase. That's what I'm trying to ride. I'm trying to ride those waves of the market and manage my emotions all throughout that process, which is not easy. This is the hardest part of trading, guys. 12 months of the year. Do you think you're going to be a stone cold killer for 12 months? No. You're going to go through adversity through the year. You're going to feel frustrated, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel excited, you're going to go through every range of emotion in the markets. And this is why, for me, as a veteran trader, I can quickly spot out who's a veteran and who's not. Just based on the way that they're moving, based on their energy levels, I can tell if you've been trading for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. A lot of the veteran traders, you could see it in their eyes, man. They are just like dead emotionally. It's taken years off of their life, dude. But it teaches you about yourself. And that's why some of the people that I look up to are very calm, demeanored, right? The people that I look up to, they just come and execute every day. They come and execute their strategy every day, and it becomes boring. But the exciting part about boring is that you're making money. There's nothing boring about making money, right? There is something boring about trading and executing your plan every day, but you're following a process, which you should get excited about. But people, they can't do that, you know? To them, routine is boring, right? Waking up and doing the same routine, going to the same job every day. But that's the difference between professional trading and a regular job, is that there really is no difference. There really is no difference once you really break it down. It's because everybody gets into trading thinking that it's going to replace their job. Wrong. This is a different job. This is still a job. You still have a job to do. You still have a role to do. Your risk management has a role in your system, right? Your analysis has a role in your system. Your emotional control has a role in your system. and you combine all those things together, right? That is a job. You have specific tasks that you need to do every single day, every single week, every single month, every single quarter. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that is what produces results, right? It's not trading is going to give me a different lifestyle. Yes, it might give you a different lifestyle, but you have to realize what produces those results is the same thing as a job. You show up every day and execute your job. And that's why it's monotonous. And that's why some people just can't cut it, because they don't recognize that they have to take somewhat of a similar mindset from their previous job into the markets, but somewhat different, right? It's very nuanced. I appreciate the comments, guys. And I'm sure, I'm sure I'm not the only person that you guys can learn from. I learn from so many people. I watch a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books. And a lot of veteran traders, they say the same things over and over and over again. So, meanwhile, you don't have to pay for somebody's mentorship. You can get it for free. But what I've noticed with free, even from my personal perspective, is I didn't respect it. When I get something for free, I don't respect it. When somebody just hands me something, I don't respect it. When I pay for something, however, I respect it. I respect my time that I invested in this, right? And to this day, I still pay for education. I pay a lot of money for education, for business education, for masterminds, to try and be a better person in general, right? You should never stop developing. You have to be in the mindset of, I'm going to consistently develop my business skill set, my personal skill set, my relationship skill set, right? My communication skill sets. These things are a never-ending journey. But again, this journey is not for everybody. I think it comes down to a lot of personality type. A lot of people just hit a ceiling and they're just complacent and comfortable for the rest of their life. You see it all the time. People just get really comfortable in their job, right? They're going to job, they're getting a paycheck, they're putting money into retirement, and they never get a promotion. They stay in the same role for 30 years. There's nothing wrong with that, though, guys. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Those people are probably, maybe some of the happiest people you've ever met, or maybe some of the most miserable people you've ever met. But I've also met a bunch of super humble, wealthy people. I've also met a bunch of super wealthy, intolerable people that they just didn't have any family members. They were just sitting in their multi-million-dollar homes by themselves, no family, nobody visiting them, and they were complaining about stuff all day long. It's all about your personal perspective, guys. You have to stop worrying about what everybody else is doing, right? And just worry about what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, people around you, you have no control over what they do. And no matter how much I would like for most traders to change the way that they approach markets, I just personally can't do it. I know it's an impossible task, and I know that it just doesn't fit everybody. Some people are just not cut out for having that growth mindset. They have the fixed mindset and they can't improve. I see it all the time. In sports. So I'm into paintball, and I see a lot of people with ego just never get better, right? Because they have a fixed mindset about themselves, about what their capabilities are. And you give them advice, and, month over month, year over year, they just never really improve. Versus the person that comes in with a growth mindset, even if they have a lot of talent, you can give them advice and they're receptive of the advice and they're constantly looking to improve. Those are the types of people that have the personality trait that are going to become successful traders. Everyone, yeah, exactly. Everyone can improve, guys. Everyone can improve. There is no ceiling to how good you can get. Everyone can improve. Why do you think the best professional athletes have coaches, right? They have shooting coaches, they have technical coaches. If you guys go watch like Starting Five on Netflix or Full Swing, right? Guess who those coaches are, though? People have never heard of before. Which, again, I've gotten into arguments with people online about this. And some very prominent people in the space, people that do have track records. I don't think a track record automatically makes you a good teacher. Because if you can't communicate with people that you're trying to teach, those people you don't even have their attention, right? You need to resonate with the teacher. So I honestly don't necessarily think that you need to have the best track record, shiny polished track record to be a really great mentor. Because some of the people that I've learned the most from in this space weren't a trader. They didn't trade at all. They were just in the trading space. Some of these people were just psychologists. They get you to learn yourself and know your shortcomings and know what you should work on and know how to be more disciplined and consistent and how to build a process and a routine and an edge and manage your emotions. These are all things that are like intangible, which just me plopping a track record in front of you guys, like, let me show you my track record. Here it is. Follow me. Follow everything I say. Meanwhile, I'm a complete idiot, treating you poorly, not really giving you great advice. Is that a teaching style that somebody would resonate with? No, right? In my opinion, I don't think that when you're trying to learn, you should just be looking at, oh, this person is a really great trader. I'm going to learn from them. I think you should try and find somebody that you just resonate with, which is why I'm such a huge proponent of just sharing my story in general, because I didn't learn from like people that were institutional, at least not firsthand. I tried to learn as much as I could from people that were institutional, but you don't see how they operate. And it wasn't until I actually started trying to operate like a professional where my trading really improved a lot. And now that I'm in the circles of other professional traders, I try and see how they operate. And their operating process and their analysis process, I can tell you some of the best traders out there, their analysis, they never feel 100% confident in. They always say maybe, they're always giving you the other side of the coin, is because they've taken so many losses that it humbles them, right? But they know that's what creates profitability. Enjoying the energy and insights. Yeah, I appreciate that. I wish I could get fired up like this every day about my trading, but some days I just don't get fired up. Like, if you guys were to catch me on Monday or Tuesday, I probably would. You guys would have seen me sleeping at the desk. But I also don't want to get fired up like this all the time. When the market's doing this, I'm trying my best not to make mistakes. Right? So like if I have a long position on post CPI, my stop's down here. My target's all the way up here. I'm trying my best not to do any stupid mistakes because I don't know. Like, I would rather sit still than try and overtrade all this sloppy price action. Right? This is up and down, up and down. No real direction until when? FOMC. Right? There's no real direction here. I would rather sit still and either take a 1 hour win or a 1 hour loss than trade a million times in here and be down 20 R before the real move happens, right? So I like being bored in the markets, and I like not having that emotional roller coaster that a lot of you are experiencing. Again, your emotional volatility has an equity curve. Your emotional volatility when you're a beginner looks like this. Win, loss, win. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Right? Whereas a professional emotional volatility curve looks like this. Not getting excited about the wins, not getting depressed about the losses. Or if they do, it's more like this. It's much more controlled. Right? So you should be journaling this, how you feel about the markets. because I can guarantee you when your emotional volatility is all up and down, your performance and your P&L is going to be all up and down too. It's going to be all over the place, and you're going to feel super stressed. To me, that's an easy way to get a heart attack, guys. Like, I just watched the podcast with Anthony Cordelli. This guy said he had a heart attack at 36 years old. I turn 36 next year. So I'm trying to slow down and protect my health and my mental health and not try and have my emotional volatility all over the place because, the markets will take years off your life if you're trading them improperly. Am I meeting up with Michael soon? Maybe. I did email him. He emailed me back, so we shall see. Do we have the next two winners, I think? I'm probably gonna hop off at like 9:15, I think. Let's see who the next two winners are. Make sure you're on the stream, liking, commenting, and share the stream on your socials. Obviously, get put in winner pool. It's a FundingPips challenge, just FYI. Yeah, so for me, I don't know. Maybe I would say after the run this week on a Friday, to me, I just feel like NQ and maybe ES are just gonna do inside candles. I don't know about YM. Yeah, I don't know. For me, index markets have been definitely hard to trade. So Soham and Kamran Khan. Hopefully I pronounced your guys' names properly. Soham, Kamran Khan. Cameron Khan. I changed your life? I don't know, man. I would say, if you think I changed your life, I think you got to give your credit to yourself, man. If you changed your life, you got to own it. With some help along the way, right? A lot of people that when they change their life, they do it on their own with some help along the way. And that's the biggest thing, right? So if your life changed because of my education, you got to take credit for yourself because you took action. You took action, right? And this goes, for maybe some of my friends that I've known for a very long time that keep every time I see them like, I got to trade, man. I got to trade. I got to trade. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn. Are you taking action though? I don't care what you say. Everybody's words to me don't mean anything. Right? To me, actions speak louder than words. Right? So if you're constantly hitting me up and asking me questions because I am available to a lot of my friends, like I'm just a text away. If I had access to somebody that was a 7-figure trader when I was earlier in my career, you don't know what my group chat would have looked like with those guys. I'm in a different group chat now, but luckily the groups that I'm in now, a lot of them have found their own success. So it never feels like, we owe each other anything. Which in today's day and age it's very hard, right? Because I can't help everybody. Like I can't just open up my inboxes and just allow hundreds of thousands of people to flood my inboxes. And you know how long I would spend trying to answer people's questions when a lot of those questions can be answered on your own. You can learn a lot of those questions on your own. So we got one more giveaway winner, guys. A little bit. Yeah, and I'm just, I'm just sitting here in the trade, doing nothing. However, I don't think today I'm gonna hold over the weekend. I think last week I held over the weekend because CPI. But I don't think I'm gonna hold over the weekend. So what's my entry time frame? My entry time frame changes on everything. It really depends on what time frame I'm seeing it. So if I see this trade on an hourly time frame, right, I'm taking it on the hour. If I see a trade on the daily time frame, I'm taking it on the daily. But my position sizing is way different, right? So if I am taking a trade on daily, right, I'm using daily stop loss. Do I always have the same strategy? Yes. Again, my strategy is very simple. Because again, I don't think that everybody's so focused on entry models. To me, reading the markets and understanding what direction is it going to go, if I can pick the direction better than most people or most traders and just understand which direction is going to go, give me any strategy. Because the way that I look at markets is more of like an emotional thing. Where are traders getting trapped? Right? Who's in control of the market? You know, sorry. I'm trying to read a bunch of messages right now, guys. Yeah, so like with trading, I just try and keep it as simple as possible. You know, is the market going to bring me to my destination or not? The thing is, the market is the bus driver. I'm not the bus driver. I'm just a passenger. So when I get on the bus, all right, I pay for a ticket. Let me just try and illustrate this. Got an alcohol swap right here. Let's say I pay for a ticket to try and get me to a destination. I'm giving you my ticket. You're the bus driver. Get me there. Do I know if he's really going to take me to my destination or not? No, because I'm not the one driving the bus. So when I get on the bus, he might take all these different random turns. Boom, 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 boom. Do all these pit stops, right? Those pit stops are people getting stopped out. The market's going 1 hour in your favor. But maybe eventually it goes to your destination, right? Maybe you have a target. Maybe that target on EU is 1.15. But along the way, it does all these pit stops. It's stopping people out. It's, going 1 hour in profit, going 1 hour against them and going back to break even, going 2 hour in profit and going back to break even. But eventually, it gets to 1.15. Does that analysis, if you have that analysis alone, you can become a good trader. You can become a great trader, in fact, as long as you have an understanding of where is this market trying to go. If you can guess that properly, and yes, I say guess because this is just we're just making educated guesses here. Boil it down to that. And shout out to Trader Main because he's the one that said that. And I was like, he's 100% right. You're just taking an educated guess on where the market is going to go next, and you have no control over the outcome. Okay. If I'm making an educated guess that it's going to go to 1.15 and I get on the bus, do I know if the bus is going to take me to my destination or not? No. Maybe the bus driver hijacks the bus, right? Or maybe it takes a million stops along the way and I get stopped out. But eventually he makes it to California, which is maybe the destination. Eventually he makes it there. But along the way, you get lost, right? They make a pit stop. You get off to go to the bathroom. You don't get back on the bus. The bus goes without you. The bus still ends up in California. You got stopped out and you got scared and you never got back on the bus. All right? That's the great analogy for you guys. This is trading. This is trading. So you have to be confident in your analysis and see it through, right? If you're confident that the bus driver is going to get you to California, even though he takes a pit stop for a full day, right? Are you going to get back on the bus? He tells you, I'm leaving at this time. And you didn't. He's like, I need to rest. We're taking a pit stop in Ohio. I need to rest for a couple hours. Be here at 11 a.m. I'm going to California. Well, you don't trust him. You don't trust him. And you don't get back on the bus, right? You got stopped out. You're like, damn it. I was supposed to be in California on Tuesday. Now I'm not going to get here until Thursday. Well, you don't trust him now, so you don't get back on the bus, right? The bus ends up in California. Now you're still stuck in Ohio. So just because you get stopped out does not mean that you're wrong on the direction of the market. It just means maybe you're wrong right now. Always a good vibe in these live sessions. Thank you, man. I have to get clips of this. Oh. So the last and final winner is Fraser Tillahun. That's a lot to say. So when it pops up on the banner, we'll just mention your name because I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. Looks like fertilizer. Fraser Tillahun. Sounds like Attila the Hun, man. Suggest books. I keep referring. This book is like the best book of all time for me is Market Wizards. And I actually had the privilege though of meeting Jared Tendler, who's written The Mental Game of Poker and The Mental Game of Trading. I highly recommend those books as well. The Best Loser Wins. Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, banger. That book is so good. It might not be relatable to what you're learning now, but it's like a storytelling book because it's about a trader that came up in like I think the 1800s or early 1900s when they didn't have electronic trading, right? This guy was just in bucket shops and reading the ticker tape. They were updating the prices with chalk, right? So they would get a call from one of the exchanges, maybe it was in Chalfornia or something. They're like, oh, the price changed. They would write the number on a chalkboard, right? But yeah, super interesting book. What other books are out there? Thinking in Probabilities. I think it's called Thinking in Probabilities by Annie Duke. Let me just look it up. I don't want to give you guys the wrong name. Yeah. Thinking in Bets. Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. That's a great book. Yeah, so the reason I'm choosing FX futures is again tax purposes. Not only tax purposes, but regulation. So futures firms are regulated in the US, right? My money's a bit more protected. And then tax advantages. Futures get taxed at 60% 60% short term and 40% short term. And the price action is essentially the same as currency, as Forex currency market, right? This price action is essentially the same. But I'm getting a massive tax advantage from doing this, right? And this is just proper business. If you guys don't know business, you need to understand business. How to operate your trading business as a real business, because businesses have expenses. Okay. And once you get really good at, and once you become a savvy business person, and I'm starting to learn more and more about, tax loophole. I don't know. I don't really want to call them loopholes, but there are so many tax advantages for being a business owner. It would blow your mind. You're like, no wonder this is how people are actually building their wealth. They're not paying the money that they owe to the IRS. They're using it in specific manners that help grow their businesses, right? So, I'm not throwing anything out there, but like there's so many different ways of having a proper trading business, having proper expenses, writing certain things off, buying certain pieces of real estate property that are tax advantageous. There's so many different ways of not paying that money to the IRS. And this just goes for US based traders. Now, I am not a tax professional. I am not a certified accountant. I'm not a licensed accountant. So make sure you double check all this information with your accountant. I'm just trying to pass down knowledge that I've learned over the years. All right. And again, I'm not here telling you guys trade ideas. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm showing you how I trade. Okay. And how I trade is not like, it's probably not like most people, because I'm very comfortable sitting in trades for very long periods of time. But it's the way that I think about markets that keeps me on track. It keeps me on track because I know if I get stopped out, again, maybe the bus just took a random stop in Ohio. Do I get back on, or do I get on a bus and go back home? Right? That's the decision you have to make when you get stopped out. Am I wrong on my analysis? Or am I still confident that's going to go to my level? Right? These are things that you have to ask yourself when you're wrong about the markets. These are decisions you have to make. Do I get back on that bus and trust the bus driver that he's going to go to California? Or do I not trust it and get back on a bus and go home? Right? To me, getting back on the bus and going home is essentially you don't trust the trade anymore and you're about to reverse your bias and your position and try to go the other way. Okay? So that was basically me this week, right? I thought bus driver is going to bring me all the way up here to the promised land, to this candle that doesn't have a wick, right? I thought the euro was going to go all the way up there. It got really close. And maybe I should have taken some profit off because I was up like 1.5 R. But I got stopped out. Didn't feel confident that I was going to go to California. So let's just say that this up here is the final destination. Do you trust the bus driver? He's like, I just need to take a break. I need to take an 8-hour break and we'll resume our journey later. But this guy, the bus driver's cracked out of his mind. You don't trust him anymore. Do you get on the bus and go the opposite direction? That's your trading, right? I don't trust that market's going to go higher anymore. So what do? I try and find reasons to get short. Okay. Yesterday, a reason to get short. This, a reason to get short. And that's going to bring me back home, right? I think it's an amazing analogy, to be honest. So congratulations to all the winners. I think this is a really great stream. And I will chat with you guys all next week. I hope you guys have a great Halloween if you celebrate Halloween. Be safe out there. Try not to party. I'm not a partier, so I'm not going out. Instead, I'm going to go buy a car. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you guys enjoy the stream, and I'll see you guys all next Friday. Peace.